I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the greatest forms of education. One of the things that I teach my children, and I've been teaching young folks over the years. I was an interview I just recently released with a young lady who came to one of my stage productions. For those who don't know, I write stage productions. I'm gonna tell y'all the whole story one day. I got a few things in my arsenal here. Before we get started, please make sure you subscribe. A lot of folks watch, but they don't subscribe, or they're watching, and so hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can get these updates, because I'm about to start dropping some major stuff that will help you no matter where you are in the world. Timeless principles that apply no matter what, because we're in a global system, and because we're in this global system, there are principles that are in the system that are timeless. Okay, so grab hold of this. I'm about to drop a few nuggets for you. Take it. If it benefits you, cool. If it's not, cool. But I just want to put it out here because that's what I want to do, and just share some insight as to what I share with my children and why I believe long term they're going to be very successful. These are lessons that I wasn't taught. These are things that, and I did a segment called Dear Younger Me, what I would have told my 18-year-old self. And so I'll share with you a little bit. One thing I tell my children, look, get good grades. All right, go do all of that. Good grades don't automatically turn into financial resources. Now, it could mean that you have good discipline or the foundation for it. But if you don't understand how this system works and how this game works, then you could get good grades and still end up broke. I got a lot of friends who have doctorate degrees, who have master's degrees, who have bachelor's degrees, but they don't have any financial resources. So the first thing I encourage them to do from a young age, and this is what I've said at many schools when I've spoken in Washington, D.C., all over the country, all over America, I've spoken all over America to hundreds of thousands of people. I tell the young people, I said, listen, when you come out of high school, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be starting off on a level playing field. Even if you have zero, even if you have nothing, you're starting off at a level playing field. Whatever you do, please don't dig a hole for yourself that you now, at a low income position, have to now dig yourself out of to get back to zero to then start climbing again. If you can find a strategy and a way for you to now, maybe you have to stay at zero for a minute, just maybe those are your circumstances, maybe not. But you can keep going forward and not dig a hole. Let's see if that's an option for you. So I was telling my children, I said, well, one thing we're not going to do, we're not doing student loans. I said, I don't care. I said, I don't care how it's going down. You'll work 3 jobs and you'll do what you need to do before we take out a student loan. Because, and this is just a personal philosophy, and a lot of people have adopted this philosophy, especially if they're in their 30s and 40s and 50s raising the children, and now here they are about to sign these Parent Plus loans, about to go dive deep into this debt, and they're going to need the money before the children will. They're going to need that retirement money, and here they are stuck with all these student loans and can't retire. And a lady came to me in 2017 and she said, Jay, I heard what you said, I ignored what you said. My daughter pressured me. She wanted to get a psychology degree from Morgan State. We didn't consider that she would need to get a master's degree before she could make any money in the psychology field. And so here I am with $100,000 co-signed student debt. She's at a job, not even in her field, making $30,000 a year, and I can't retire. I'm 65 years old and I can't retire. She told me this 5 years ago. So now she's 70, and I'm sure she still can't retire because of her having to pay that $965 or whatever per month in the student loans. So I told my children, I said, well, one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to go become a different kind of slave to this system. When you understand global history, resources was always at the core. Debt, resources, even now what happens on the continent of Africa, how the World Bank and IMF have many of these African countries stranglehold with debt. China strangleholding these countries with debt. America and other Western countries are now, and even African countries, are now finding themselves using this debt strategy on a micro level when it comes into people's families and households, and for generations they are now enslaving families to this thing called student loan debt under the guise of education. And so it's like, hey, if you don't have this kind of education, then you're not going to move forward. So a lot of families are just sacrificing themselves. Instead of sacrificing themselves and just making a monthly payment, they now go and get into all of the debt. Now the interest accrues, they end up paying double for the education, and then the child, sometimes the child doesn't even want to do that particular career and all of that. And that's what happened, or could have happened in my household, where my oldest son, he got scholarships and got accepted and everything, because he knew there were no student loans. He knew he wasn't going to get a check. We paid for him to go to private school and all of that. And we said, well, listen, I'll match whatever you come to the table with. So he got a scholarship to community college. But he decided that he didn't want to go down that road. Now just imagine, because he also got accepted to all of these other four-year schools, but just imagine if we took out the student loans and he decided that he didn't want to go that route. Now here's the debt, no degree, and now we're sitting up here trying to figure out what we're going to do. See, he fumbled through and all of that, and now he got himself together in a sense, because he knows how to make the money, because I taught him other strategies. I gave him education outside of the traditional education. I said, okay, if you don't want to do this, you're going to have to learn how to make money. If you're going to survive in this society, you're going to have to learn how to hustle it up. So he knows how to go out and make $3,000 in 1 week. He's got his TikTok going with his strategies and tips, and he's teaching other people how to make money, door dashing. So he can go out any given week and make $3,000 door dashing. But now he's starting to parlay it into, the other things, TikTok and other social media platforms, where he's now instructing people with ebooks and all of that. So that's how he's wired. I can't force him to get into a particular thing. He had to come to some conclusions on his own. And so there's the deal. My middle son, he said, hey, listen, he was academically, when I say academically, meaning according to the Western academic system, he was kind of more like a C student, which was fine. Hey, okay, that's your thing. You're not into calculus and some of this bogus American history. I'm not going to even drill that on you. He wanted to be a chef. He said, as a little boy, I want to be a chef. The boy can cook. He cooks. I mean, he can cook. The boy can cook. So after high school, he fumbled around for a little while. Now, if we'd have gone out there and taken out student loans, trying to force him to go to school and everything, you need to go to Johnson and Wales, and you need to go to such and such, and you better get on and go to school. I said, hey, here's the deal. Whatever y'all decide to do, we're going to give you a little window to get your mind right. And then at this point, you have to start paying rent. Because what you won't do is just lay up in the house and just chill, and everybody else getting them going to work and providing this roof and food and shelter for you. So if you're not in school, then you're going to have to pay some rent. So he fumbled around for a little while. Then he realized, okay, he had to go get a job and all this other kind of stuff. And he had some jobs, but attitude, he was quitting jobs, and I don't think he got fired, but I think the attitude was stink, just immature. I had to fire both of my sons. I'm trying to think if I had to fire the youngest one. No, I think I fired the oldest one 2 or 3 times. I know I fired the middle one at least once. Hey, it is what it is, but let me tell you what the silver lining in all of this. I got the oldest one, he can make $3,000 in a week by himself. He understands some principles early. The middle one, we did a news segment where we on the news together, and that was, we had a big, what's the word? We had an argument right before we went on the way to the thing, because he was moving slow, and I'm saying, man, look, I'm trying to put you on. What's going on? And he was, the passive aggressive attitude and all that going on. Boy, I tell you, raising these boys is something else. So then he realized he had to come to some conclusions. So he went, got little odd jobs, worked over at a Taco Bell, then worked at a little fish joint. Then he said, you know what, I think I want to go and work on a cruise ship. I wasn't particularly feeling it because it was right during the height of COVID and all of that. But I'm saying, son, you got to figure out your path. You are definitely your father's son, so go do your thing. So he worked on a cruise ship for a while, learning those skills and trades and getting that real world experience underneath his belt. Meantime, he's still stacking a little bit of money. Then he said, okay, I'm done with the cruise ship. I want to go work at a restaurant down in Key Largo, down in Florida. I want to move away. He bought his car. I wasn't feeling him driving down there. But he went and did what he had to do. I said, you know what, son? This is your life. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm very proud of my boys. I'm very proud of just even me having to fire them and some of the intense conversations we've had to have. I'm proud of the moves that they're making because they're developing as men. One thing we didn't do, I didn't throw them out of the nest. I said, here's a plan for you. What we will not do is enable you. A lot of families enable their children, and as a result, their children don't develop as quickly as they could. So then they turn 32, 33 years old trying to figure it out. 32, 30, 40, 50 years old, still trying to figure it out. I expedited the process with my sons when I said, hey, you got to make some decisions. You can sit here and you can pad my pocket all you want. As a matter of fact, all 3 of you, all 4 of you can stay here in the house, pay me $500 a month in rent. That's $2,000 right there. We can go buy some other stuff and keep it moving. But that pressure was something that caused them to grow up. And I told them, I said, you need to go spend some time over in different parts of Africa and see some of the pressure that a lot of these young people endure, because you all have it real good here. And I said, but what I will not do is when I see those children out there, when I see those girls out there 10 years old, speaking 3 and 4 different languages, but they're out there selling on the street, and y'all sitting here playing video games all day, that's unacceptable. That right there, as a man raising boys and a girl in the 21st century, that right there is going to be unacceptable, especially when I see what all these children can do in different parts of Africa. So when it comes to the pressure, it's almost like, for many of us, we don't want our children to feel any pressure. And so when we take the pressure away from them, from what I understand, and what I've seen is it stunts their growth. I've seen, so many people just like, oh no, I don't want them to go through this and I don't want them to go through that. But for many of us, we forget what made us was the pressure. And so what the pressure did, the pressure put us in a position where we had to make certain decisions. We were forced to now decide if we were going to grow up or we were going to still keep playing games. So I told them, look, I know how to expedite this process, because they developed this attitude of entitlement and all this other kind of stuff. I said, I know how to deal with this. We can solve this problem really quickly. So put the press on, said, look, you got to make some decisions or else, you're going to leave. So the youngest one, he saw this and he was like, oh, I'm paying attention. He said, I don't want to go down that road. So this brother, I told him, I said, listen, what I've seen in Africa and what I've seen, I said, this is why so many people come from different parts of the world, whether it be Central America, Africa, wherever, China, wherever, and they blow past y'all here in America because it's almost like y'all are work adverse or something. They don't have a time clock. They don't sit there and say, well, I want you to just focus on such and such. They have to focus on getting grades and providing food. And what that does for them is it gives them a work ethic that causes them to excel. So the youngest one, he was working 2 jobs and getting all A's. And he's getting ready to go to college now. He already knows, ain't nobody writing no checks and nothing like that. So you're gonna have to figure this thing out. And the reason why that is, and now, if he gets in a major crunch and he's really trying hard, then there's a little room, there's some wiggle room in there. But I wanted him to have a work ethic of knowing how to get things for himself. And so his mother and I, we're on the same page. Like, hey man, look, what you gonna do? And so so he's getting scholarships and working and doing that thing. And I said, okay, cool. I said, now I feel confident that you all will be able to take care of yourselves and a family, because you don't have this entitlement mentality and you're not walking around afraid to work and afraid to work smart. So then we started talking about this, how you invest your money. This is what you do. If you don't have all that boatload of debt, now you can start buying properties and playing the game of resources. Now you can start doing things on a level that many other people take their whole lives to figure out, because they dug a hole during these critical earning years. So you have critical earning years when you are, from the ages of whatever age, from birth. Some parents invest in their children from before they're born. So by the time they turn 18, that money is earned interest instead of paying out all of the interest. So they were listening to this, and I said, I get it. I said, you all have been spoiled, even though you all have had certain things along the way, that if I could go back and rewind the clock, it would have been a little different. But hey, you can't rewind it. We can catch it now while you're still 18, 20, and 22. And make some some modifications in this process. What I appreciate is that these young men and this young lady, they listen as they begin to mature. One, they're not afraid of work. And I said, look at what the immigrants who come to this country do. They will go, and I showed them one day, I drove them through a neighborhood. I said, they will go to a house. And it'll be a 5-bedroom house, and they'll get 2 bunk beds and put in one room, and that one room can hold 4 people. So you have 4 people in 5 rooms. I said that's 20 people living in one house. I said if each person contributes $200 a month to the house, That's what, $4,000 a month to the household. They get a decent house or whatever. Maybe it's $250 or whatever. So they pay the house off. Someone starts a business. They all build this community and they understand. Or the person who comes in, they say, wow, I can work sun up to sundown the same way I did when I was in my country. I can come to America. I work sun up to sundown, and I'm paying $250 a month for me to stay somewhere, and I can just stack this money. I can send this money back home. I can build a home back home. I can take advantage of this resource. And so and now I'm not saying this so people can come to like American Dream or whatever, and can't wait to get to America because and if you can get here and get that money, take it on back, send it back, do what you got to do. But I've watched people with this mentality, and those people with that mentality, they excel. And I say this for parents in America. I mean, I know we want our children to be privileged and uppity and bougie and don't want them to go through what we went through. But if we handicap them, they will eventually go through what we went through. They'll just do it on the back end, and then their children will suffer. So for me, what I did with mine, and what I'm still doing with mine, I told them, I said, I'll be 100 years old. I'll still be your father. I said, I'll still guide and all of that along the way. I said, but eventually you'll have to work it out. So they all have purchased their own vehicles. I did get my oldest son, when he graduated from high school, I gave him my old truck. So he had that, but now he went and purchased his own vehicle. He went through a moment there where he was, he got them growing pains. And so he went through the growing pains spell, but he was navigating his way through it. And so I said, this is what's gonna make you a man. I said, my grandchildren will thank me later. My daughter-in-law will thank me later. My daughter, she's working, going to school and wants to get her business going. They've had entrepreneurship in front of them their entire lives. So they know that, okay, if the job doesn't want to pay, then I can go out and create an opportunity for myself. This is all about a mindset. And this is all about how, and I'm not saying that my mindset is the only way or the best way. I'm just saying it's the best way for how and what I'm doing and what affords me the opportunity to do the things that I do. People ask me, how can you do it? Well, there were certain things that I did along the way that put me in a position to do it. And so what I'm sharing with you is, if you want to, I tell parents all the time, one mother, she came to one of my seminars about the whole debt, college debt. And she has 3 children. She was about to sign the Parent Plus loan for all 3 children, $100,000 each child. I said, so when are you ever going to pay this off? You in your 40s, when are you ever going to pay this off? She said, well, I don't know. I said, chances are you're not. I said, there's a better way. There's a way you can go through this. They can get the same degree. They can get the same education, and they can become stronger and more competitive people in this society. When you have more and more people coming into this country with this background that I'm talking about of being a hustler, that's why when people come, people are like, them Nigerians coming in, because them Nigerians know what time it is. They see, they're seeing so many Black Americans squander opportunities in front of them. They're like, man, bump that. I'm gonna go get the opportunity you don't want. And so, and so this is not. I'm not talking about whether or not they have rights to what those who, the slavery thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about pound for pound, what many people do when they come to this country. I see the Latino families coming in and killing it. They come in and kill the game. They come in and start their companies, they get the contracts, but you got us sitting around waiting on a check somewhere, trying to get a government job somewhere. We can sit on our tail and do nothing all day. But they go in, everywhere I'm going, the women, the men, they're taking advantage of minority opportunities. And I say this on the continent as well. And so I'm talking to 2 sets of people. When it comes to resources, everybody gets a set amount of resources. I don't know which circumstances for each country. So each country could have a different set of circumstances, but the principles are the same. If you work together as a family unit and you begin to pool your money and resources together, you're going to go further. Now you don't have to incur all of that debt while one person is building, the next person can do the next thing. I told my son, I said, if you want to do a food truck, I have vehicles that can be converted into food trucks. If you want a commercial kitchen, there's a property we have that you could use and convert that into a commercial kitchen should you want to do it. And I told my oldest son, if you want to go into property maintenance, we have all the equipment, all the tools that you need where you can go make endless amounts of money if you want to take this and run with it. My youngest son, if you want to go into broadcasting, you have a full studio at your disposal where you can go perfect your craft. And if this is what you want to do, you can knock it out the park. And so that's the case. Now, my daughter, she wants to go into the, spa. I don't know. Well, no, she can convert some of what we have into that too. So that's how they're being set up for success. Now, if they decide they want to do it and take advantage of it, then they can. If they decide they don't want to, then that's fine. But it's at least it's there, and it's all because we did not put ourselves in a negative position and get caught up in trying to keep up with the Joneses, and then the Joneses are broke, and the Joneses trying to figure out how they're going to change their situation, or the I'm trying to find an ethnic name from the continent, but y'all know what I'm saying. People trying to keep up with the next person, trying to look like the next person without realizing the true condition of the next person. And so for me, I'm very organic with it, very practical with it. And I tell the people, like my PhD friends and those who have the traditional education, take that money and parlay some of that 6 figures, 7 figures, or whatever you're doing, and begin to put that money into passive investment. So you're making money anytime. You're making money 24/7. Instead of just putting it in a 401k, add some, diversify that's just for my friends. I'm not giving you financial advice, because somebody say, you gave financial advice and now we want to sue them. That's how they do. That's what they do. But all I'm saying is, when we're talking about all this education, if we don't have financial literacy and understanding estate plans, wills, insurance, savings, investing, all of those things, those components in the conversation, investing X amount of dollars or a percentage of your income, if that's not a part of the conversation, then what we're doing is we're hustling. And many in our culture have been trained to hustle to survive. That's what I see globally, people hustling to survive. I see from other folks who travel the world with no borders. I see for the Europeans, they go into Africa. I see the Asians, they go into Africa, and the reason why they can do this is because they have invested, or they have an investor mentality, or they know how to use other people's money. So when they take out the loans, it's not to purchase a new pair of shoes. They're taking out the loans to be able to go and say, hey, look, I'm going to build this building or open this business or whatever it is. When we start thinking with that type of mentality, that's how we can get and start playing this game. So anyway, I just hope that somebody heard what I said today. Wherever, I don't know your circumstance. If you say, well, I don't know, what can I do if I don't have anything? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying these are some principles that I teach my children. I've been teaching children through my summer camp and through my seminars and classes and productions for years. And so now I'm just dropping this a little bit. If you take something out of it and run with it, cool. If it's garbage to you, then cool. If it's nothing, cool. I'm just saying I know what works for us. I know the lifestyle that we're able to live because of the very principles and the sacrifices. There were times where I could have gone out and bought $100,000 cars and all of that, but I opted. I said, I'm not going to do that at this point in time. I'm going to wait and show them. And I sent a video of them today, just reminding them, saying, hey, look, remember when I was considering this 10 years ago, and look at what I did with the alternative decision that I made. And now I can travel the world. Now I can do all these different things. Now I've even taken traveling the world and turned that into a business, and children's books and all these other kind of things because of positioning. And that's what I'm saying for you. Position yourself in such a way so that you create opportunities for yourself and opportunities for your family, and recognize that this system is not going to give you everything that you need, every piece of education that you need. If you're coming back with a bunch of excuses for why you can't, I can't solve that right there. That's a mindset issue. But for the person who says that you can, for the person who says that you will, then that person will be inspired and motivated to figure out how to do it. If you say you don't want to do it, go to school and go get educated without the debt, then you won't do it. You'll figure it out. If it takes you longer, then it will. Be careful of family pressure. Be careful of all these different things. Watch the interview that I shared with the young lady who came back to me 10 years later and said, this is how your play impacted my life, because now I get it. Now I understand what was fueling my decision. There was a deficiency, and now I recognize it, and I'm a better person for recognizing it, and I'm going to pay off this $30,000 in student loan debt before I turn 30, or something like that, 25,000, I think, something like that. Go back and watch the video, and then you'll be able to see. But that's real. That's real. So this is worldwide. This is not just an American story. This is an happening on a continent story. It's not just about student loans. It's about families working together. It's about if a family work together, that's how people can come out of the hole. But oftentimes we have family members who do not share that same philosophy, and they want to mooch off of people, and they want to put their dysfunctions on people. I've had to learn how to tell people no. And they've called me out every kind of name you can think of because I said, no, I'm not going to pay for your dysfunction. Your dysfunction is not going to impact my pockets, because in the end, what's going to happen is none of us will have anything. We'll all be sitting here broke. So I'm saying this so that when we would look back years from now, me saying no today will be one of the best decisions that I can make. A lot of families don't want to do that. A lot of families feel compelled, based upon culture or whatever, that they're supposed to, take care of people no matter what decisions they make. And that's why a lot of families are going to stay stuck in that position. That's not something just in Africa. That's something that happens in America. That's all around the world. But I know what's worked for me and my family. I said I'm raising men and I'm raising women. Meaning these children, I watched all of them come into the world. And I said, I told them, straight up, I said, you have been raised to be great. There's no excuse for you to come out here and show up less than great with whatever you decide to do. Because it's been modeled for you, and you've been affirmed, you have been encouraged, and you have the support to do it. The only reason why it won't happen is because of laziness and mindset. Mindset or laziness, interchangeable. But as they mature, it'll click. And so I hope that you find some value in something. Maybe all of it doesn't apply to your circumstances, but maybe there's something in this that you can take and apply to your family, and just drop a little bit of empowerment for the next generation. Because if you got somebody laying around doing nothing, the fast way to expedite that process is to say no, cut some things off, and let the circumstances unfold. Now, it's not a cookie cutter thing. I don't know, I'm not trying to say, you know your own situation and all of that, but sometimes we have to get to the point of saying enough is enough if we're going to change this for the next generation. All right, everybody. Hey, make sure you pick up the Adventures of Darren and Destiny children's book series. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, as we continue to march on Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron. Yes, as we bridge the gap between Africa and the African diaspora, but we're also dropping some knowledge to be able to help all the different things that we have seen on so many different levels, so many different conversations we'll be able to have right here. So until next time, take care. Talk to you soon.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.
The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And Darren and Destiny are twin brother and sister, and you go on their adventures throughout the African diaspora, meaning so African diaspora destinations, primarily focused in Africa, but we go to South America, we're going to go to the Caribbean. Their first book is going to take you to Ghana, and then we're going to go on a safari, and from there we're going to go to Ethiopia, and then we go to Salvador, Brazil. And what the goal is to be able to inspire curiosity in the continent of Africa, in our children from a very young age, and to really tell a more accurate story. Most of our children are exposed to negative images, late night infomercials about how bad things are, everybody's sick, everybody's poor, everyone's uneducated, but that's simply not true. So what Darren and Destiny and their family do is they go to different African destinations. They are learning about these different places. You're beginning to see positive images, but still telling the truth. I mean, that's the important thing, to tell the truth about some of the things that have occurred. But it's all done on our children's level so they begin to understand it. And it begins to pique their curiosity. They begin to learn more. And hopefully one day they will want to explore and visit the continent of Africa and its many countries. There's just so much that Darren and Destiny are able to do, and as they're doing it, it's like they begin to open the minds of a new generation, and they don't get bombarded and indoctrinated with negativity. They're actually able to see positivity and inspiring images and messages about the African diaspora, as well as those who are still indigenous to the continent of Africa, and they begin to learn more and just see things differently. So I'm excited about introducing the Adventures of Darren and Destiny.